Hello, student. Welcome again. This is Pooja Rawat, your social science teacher. And in our last class, we have read about this chapter, Our Changing Earth. So, in this video tutorial, we will learn the next important topic of this chapter. So, in the last video tutorial, we were learning about our changing earth, and today we will read some new topic of this chapter. So, student, you were reading about the earth movement. So, today, now, let's revise first these two important earth's movement, that is endogenic forces and exogenic forces. So, in endogenic forces, we will take some sudden forces and the the, the disastrophic forces. In the sudden forces like earthquake, volcano, and landslides, and disastrophic forces building mountains, and in exogenic forces erosional and depositional like river, wind, sea waves, and glaciers. So, student, these forces makes lots of change on our earth's surface. That's why we will read these about these forces in detail. So, earthquake is one of a very destructive and very dangerous force of the earth, and it creates lots of destruction on our earth surface. So that's why we have to be prepared for it. And why these earthquake occur? Because of the molten magma inside the earth. The magma inside the earth is moving in a circular manner. That's why the plates of the earth is also moving. And if the plates means the lithosphere of the earth will move, then it means that the things, and if we are living in on the lithosphere, that's mean if these lithospheric plates will move, then everything on the lithospheric plates will be also move, like our buildings, our house, and the mountains, everything will be move, and it create lots of destructions. So that's why now you can understand that how and why the lithospheric plates move and why the earthquake occur on our earth surface. And this is the endogenic forces, and one of the endogenic forces, because of this these fold mountains also creates, like these tectonic plates moves upwards and वो ऊपर की तरफ बढ़ती हैं, the earth's crust also and tectonic plates. That's why these fold mountains also form on our earth surface. Next topic is the earthquake, how these games. Similarly, when the lithospheric plates moves, the surface of the earth vibrate, and the vibration can travel all around the earth. These vibrations are called earthquake. The place in the crust where the movement start is called the focus. The place on the surface above the focus is called the epicenter, and the vibration travel outward from the epicenter as waves. Greatest damage is usually closest to the epicenter, and the strength of the earthquake decrease away from the center. Means if we will go far from the focus and from the epicenter, means the strength of the earthquake will also decrease. So this is, you can understand by this video that how the earthquake works and how this endogenic force comes out, that is called seismic energy. Okay, that seismic energy decrease from this epicenter. Second is volcano. Volcano eruption is also one of endogenic forces, and a volcano is a vent in the earth's crust through which molten material erupts suddenly, and this also create lots of destruction. This is also the endogenic forces of our earth. So student, now we will read that our next topic, we will take our next topic, major landforms. The landscape is being continuously worn away by two processes, weathering and erosions. So means the landscape changes by weathering, because of the weathering and erosions. Means जो घिसती है हमारी अर्थ सरफेस, मिट्टी जो उड़ती है, that's called the erosion. By the water, by the weathering is the breaking up the rock on the earth surface. Erosion is the wearing away of the landscape by different agents like water, wind and ice. The eroded material is carried away or transported by the water, wind, etc., and eventually deposited. This process of erosion and deposition create different landforms on the surface of the earth. So that's why this is the erosions, and we will read about it. Now, next topic is work of river. The running water of the river erodes the landscape. When the river tumbles and steep angle over very hard rock or down to steep valley side, it forms a waterfall. As you can see in the figure, the waterfall. So, but before this, we will read that some important waterfalls of our earth. There are thousands of small waterfalls in the world, and the highest waterfall is Angel Fall of Venezuela in South America. The other waterfalls at Niagara Fall, located on the border between Canada and USA in North America, and Victoria Fall on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe in Africa. These are some important waterfalls of the earth, and these are some beautiful waterfalls, and lots of travelers came to see these waterfalls. I will show you these waterfalls by this video. So this is the Niagara waterfalls, and this is the most beautiful waterfall of the earth. Okay, Niagara Falls located on the border between Canada and USA in North America, and Victoria Falls is on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe in Africa. Means Victoria Falls is in Africa, and this, and there are other lots of waterfalls in India and in other places also. So these waterfalls looks very beautiful, and they create when the water is formed from a very hard rock down steep valley side, it form a waterfall. Like you can see that the water is blowing from this, water is coming from this hard rock directly to the earth surface. That's why these waterfall form. Next topic is our Oxbow Lake. How Oxbow Lake form? As the river enters the plain, it twists and turns, forming large bends known as meanders. Due to continuous erosion of deposition along the beside of the meanders, the end of the meanders loop come closer and closer. In due course of time, the meanders loop cut off from the river and forms a cutoff lake, and also called an oxbow lake. You can see this process is happening in a lots of year like 1889 to 2020, and you can see in this figure also how this oxbow lakes is separating from the main river. At time the river overflow its banks. This lead to the flooding of the neighboring areas. As it flood, it deposit layers. The formation of an oxbow lake. Here you can see the year is also showing in this video. Time to time from 1986, 1987, 1988, the river is changing its way, and to the 19 to from 2006 2007 the complete oxbow lake is formed here. So as you can see, this is also represent in your book also in figure 3.5, features made by a river in a floodplains. So you have to draw this in your notebook also. So student, at the times the river overflow its banks, this lead to the flooding of the neighboring areas, and as it floods, its deposit layer of fine soil and other material called sediments along its banks, and this leads to the formation of a flat fertile floodplains. Means when when the flooding of the rivers enter in the neighboring areas, as it flood, its deposit layer of fine soil, मन जब मिट्टी में जब फ्लड्स आता है रिवर में, तो वो अपने साथ बहुत सारे अच्छे सेडिमेंट्स एंड बहुत सारे डिपॉजिट जो है वो लेके आती है, एंड दीज डिपॉजिट्स कलेक्ट्स इन द नेबरिंग एरियाज, जिस वजह से ये नेबरिंग एरियाज जो होते हैं बहुत फर्टाइल और अच्छे हो जाते हैं फॉर द एग्रीकल्चर वर्क्स, एंड दिस लीड टू द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ फ्लैट फर्टाइल फ्लड प्लेन्स. The raised banks are called leaves. As the river approaches the sea, the speed of the flooding water decreases and the river begins to break up into a number of streams. जब river sea के close होती है यानी कि समुद्र तक पहुंचने वाली होती है, as you can see in figure 3.6 here, so उसकी speed जो है वो थोड़ी कम हो जाती है and the river becomes too slow that it begins to deposit its load and each tributaries form its own mouth. The collection of sediments from all the mouths form a delta. Understand? Like you can see in this figure, the river is coming and when it's going to enter in ocean, it's divided into so many tributaries and these tributaries are forming a land, a fertile land, because the river is also giving some sediments and some other deposits which the river is bringing from other parts of its way, and then these deposits and these distributaries of the river make a landform which is called delta. Now you can understand that what is delta. So now work of sea. Work of sea is our next topic. As you can see in this figure 3.7, feature made by the waves. The erosion and deposition of the sea waves give rise to coastal landform and sea wave continuously strike at the rocks. मीन्स जो ये सी की जो वेव्स होती है कंटिन्यूसली जो है रॉक्स से टकराती हैं. यू कैन सी हियर एंड strikes at the rocks and cracks develop क्योंकि इस फोर्स से वहाँ पे क्रैक डेवलप हो जाते हैं and over time they become larger and wider. Thus hollow lakes caves are formed on the rocks जिससे से वहाँ पे काफी सारे hollow rock caves बन जाते हैं. So student, as you can see in this video also, large crack opened by the waterfalls and the crack grew into a cave by this force, by this hydraulic force, and like this the cave gets bigger and break through the headlands forming a cave and an arch also like this and the arch is eroded and collapse and the leaves of rock stacks this get eroded and after that forming of stump. Now you can understand that how these things are formed on our earth, so that how you get from a headland to a stump and also the whole process takes near the 15 million years than 23 seconds. Okay, so this is the process of forming of the caves by the waves of the sun. So there are some other beautiful caves and other these structure forms by the waves. You can see in this video the nasal island of the twig also is one of them. So students, this is the formation of sea caves and over time these caves become larger and wider. Thus hollow-like caves are formed on the rocks. They are called sea caves. As these cavities become bigger and bigger, only the roof of the cave remains, thus forming sea arches and further erosion breaks the roof and only walls are left. These walls-like features are called stakes. The steep rocky coast rising almost vertically above the sea water is called a sea cliff and the sea waves deposit sediments along the shores forming beach. So student, next topic is work of ice. Like rivers and the volcano and the earthquake, same the ice also affect the lithospheric plates and the surface of the earth. So work of the ice. Glaciers are rivers of ice which too erode the landscape by bulldozing soil and stone to expose the solid rocks below glacier curves out deep hollows there. As the ice melts, they get filled up with water and become beautiful lakes in the mountains. The material carried by the glaciers such as rocks, big and small, sand and slit gets deposited. These deposits form glacial moraines. As you can see in this video also, glaciers are rivers of ice which too erode the landscape of bulldozing soils and stone to expose the solid rocks below. And the glacier curves out deep hollow and the ice melts. They get filled with water and become beautiful lake in the mountain, as you can see here. That's why lots of beautiful lakes form in the mountains. And the material carried by the glacier, such as rocks, big and small sands and slit, gets deposited. These deposition form glacial moraines. These are the glacial moraine. Here you can see in this figure. These are also very beautiful natural phenomena and natural effect which look very beautiful. Students, our next topic is desert, work of wind. So student, have you ever visited a desert? Try to collect some picture of sand dunes and you can paste these pictures in your notebook also. Okay, so in India, Rajasthan have beautiful sand deserts and sand dunes. Have you ever visited a desert? An active agent of erosion and deposition of the desert is wind. Because here in desert area, wind play a very important role for forming sand dunes. In desert, you can see rock in the shape of a mushroom, commonly called mushroom rock. Winds erode the lower section of the rock more than the upper part. Therefore, such rocks have narrow base of wider top than when the winds blow. It lifts and transports sand from one place to another. When it stops blowing, the sand falls and get deposited in low hills like structures. These are called sand dunes. When the grains of sands are very fine and light, the wind can carry it over very long distance. When such sand is deposited in large areas, it is called loess. Large deposit of loess is found in China. I will show you this by a video presentation also. So student, here you can see in this video the active agent of erosion and deposition is the desert is wind, and in desert you can see this rock in the shape of mushroom, commonly called mushroom rocks, and this form because of the erosion of wind, and wind erode the lower section of the rock more than the upper part. Therefore, such rocks have narrow base, and when the wind blow, it lift and transport sand from other places to one places to the another places. So student, now I hope you understand this chapter very clearly, and now you will not face any problem in this chapter in future also, and you will always remember this beautiful phenomena of our nature and how our earth is changing day by day, but these changes occur very slowly. That's why we cannot feel and we cannot see these changes also. So student, there are some glossary word you have to write in your notebook, like lithospheric plate. Here you can see it is written lithospheric plate. The earth crust consists of several large and some small rigid irregular shaped plates, slabs which carry continents and the ocean floors. Okay, these are the lithospheric plates. Okay, and here this you have to do this also, the endogenic and the exogenic forces. This you have to write the word origin. Endogen means inside and exo means outside. That's why endogenic forces, which forces are coming from the inside of the earth, and exogenic forces which is affecting the earth from its outside. Okay, so students, there are lots of pictures here. You have to draw these pictures also in your notebook, like this figure 3.3, origin of the earthquake. This is where the earthquake occur. It is the origin of the seismic energy. The seismic energy हम किसे बोलते हैं? Seismic energy, the energy which is coming from the inside of the earth in the form of wave, that is called seismic energy. And it's because of this seismic energy earthquakes happen on our earth, and we can measure this seismic energy by some instrument that is called seismograph. So Do you know that this seismograph is very useful to measure the earthquake? Okay, so this figure is also in your notebook, in your book also there. Here you can see this. An earthquake is measured with a machine called the seismograph, and the magnitude of the earthquake is measured on the Richter scale. हम इसको स्केल पे नापते हैं. An earthquake of 2.0 or less can be felt only a little. An earthquake over 5.0 can cause damage from things falling, and 6.0 or higher magnitude is considered very strong, and 7.0 is classified as the major earthquake. So student, now this we have completed this chapter, and I hope you have understood all important topic of this chapter very clearly.